Who are the ad watchers? We are attorneys at the National Advertising Division of BBB National Programs, a team with over 50 years of experience investigating and resolving disputes over the accuracy of national advertising campaigns.
We don't just take ads at face value, we put them to the test. Why? Because advertising law can be simple, but it's the execution that's hard. Welcome to the Ad Watchers, NAD's podcast that gives a view into how our organization reviews claims and applies advertising law. If you missed any of our previous episodes, don't forget to check them out later. They are available wherever you are listening to this.
Annie, we're recording this in the dog days of summer. It's hard to believe it. Summer is coming to a close. So is this season of the Ad Watchers. It really flew by.
But one of the highlights of every fall is the NAD conference. If you are listening to this episode right after it drops, and we are sure you will, and it's not too late to sign up. This year, we will be at the Conrad Hotel in Washington, D.C. from September 15th to the 17th. The 15th will be a workshop on NAD fundamentals. It is sure to be full of all of your favorite ad law subjects, hot topics, and also just bread and butter claim substantiation and a look to the future of ad law.
We really hope to see you all there. So we thought we would end this season with a really fun subject, something we enjoy here at NAD, but it is very important to advertisers. And that is advertising that denigrates or disparages a competitor. It's often done in very humorous forms, so we get a kick out of looking at those ads. But we're going to try to talk today about the right way to be mean. Often we see some very entertaining ads that rely on all kinds of gags, but it's very important to know where to draw the line. Advertising may highlight truthful claims about the differences between products or services, but cannot falsely denigrate or disparage the competitor. Also, advertisers are free to highlight positive product attributes of their products, but may not falsely denigrate or disparage other products for not having those qualities. So with that in mind, over to you, Annie.
Yeah, this is very much in the domain of NAD, as we're more likely to address disputes between competitors. Our mission is to ensure a trust in the marketplace and that consumers are getting accurate advertising. Government agencies are less likely to look at these kinds of disputes. They have very limited resources. So this is very much within our bailiwick. NAD uses its expertise to determine when the line has been crossed and advertising that conveys an unsupported message about a competitor.
So let's talk about just a few of the cases we've had. Did they cross the line or not? First, Danny, let's start with some cases where a competitor's products might have been portrayed as harmful.
Sure. Let's start with the Goose Creek candles. This was a challenge that was brought by Bath & Body Works. Goose Creek was making express claims on its website and in video ads about the harmfulness of ingredients that are found in competitors' products. So they said claims like, avoid the harmful chemicals found in other body care products. And then they had that followed by that was under a heading of healthy body care. And then they made claims that their body products are clean, cruelty-free, vegan, and non-GMO. And again, stated of harmful chemicals found in other body care products. There was no consumer perception evidence here, so we did what we always do, which is step into the shoes of the reasonable consumer to assess the implied claims. And in context, the claims implied that Bath & Body Works body care products and those of other Goose Creek competitors contain harmful chemicals. So what was the support? Well, the advertiser referred to a New York Times article that discussed federal and state law bans on certain ingredients and chemical compounds that are hazardous to humans that are found in cosmetic products in the U.S. And some of those, so two of them, which is methyl isothiazolinone, I practiced that, and octinoxate, are found in the Challenger's products. So, denigrating claims that a competitor's product contains harmful ingredients hold great weight with consumers and really impact their purchasing decisions. NAD carefully scrutinizes those claims to ensure that they are truthful, accurate, and narrowly drawn, and that they don't falsely disparage a competitor's product. There was no evidence indicating that Bath and Body Works products contain the chemicals that were listed in the New York Times article. And also, those two ingredients are not categorically harmful ingredients, as the FDA approved their use in certain amounts for certain uses in pharmaceutical and cosmetic formulations. So the claims had to be discontinued. In another case, Genexa, which is an OTC children's pain and fever medicine, this was a challenge Johnson & Johnson. Here, too, we see ingredient claims that were potentially falsely denigrating. So they were making claims such as, we looked around the medicine aisle and found something that made us sick. Genexa Kids is quote unquote made with real ingredients in contrast to competing children's medicines, and that parabens, and they put these in like all caps. So parabens is stuff that you'll find in all-purpose cleaner. And for some reason, in kids' fever medicine, and that propylene glycol is also found in antifreeze. In context, the claims imply that the ingredients in competing children's medicine are unhealthy. Genexa countered and said they was simply highlighting ingredient differences that consumers would find meaningful. So here, too, we did not have consumer perception evidence, and we agreed with the challenger. The messages conveyed were that the competing products are harmful, when in fact they have FDA-approved ingredients. And so there's no supporting evidence as to any potential harm that would come from use of the competing products. So NAD recommended that the ingredient claims be discontinued. This was appealed to the National Advertising Review Board, which is the appellate body of the self-regulatory forum, and the NARB affirmed NAD's decision.
So now let's talk about a couple cases in the food and beverage area. So one of the meanest things you can say about a beer is that it tastes like water. We had a case, it was some advertising for Miller Lite, and the ads showed athletes working out, doing their thing, getting tired, and then instead of pouring water on themselves, they would pour beer, or beer that looked a little bit like Anheuser-Busch's products. So that led to a challenge here at NAD. The question was this puffery? Was this just an opinion about beer when they used the line, light beer shouldn't taste like water, it should taste like beer, combined with the tagline, more taste? So the question was this puffery, just an opinion, or was there a comparative claim about the products being made? So NAD and the NARB both found that this was a comparative claim in the context in which it appeared, and it required substantiation in the form of a well-conducted consumer taste test. So another case, and the question was, had the advertiser crossed the line into ash canning? That is, depicting a competing product as completely worthless. And this is a case last year, and the advertiser was a manufacturer of Welch's fruit snacks. Kids love these things, always can give them a package of fruit snacks, very popular with parents. Welch's, in their campaign, used Gordon Ramsay as a spokesperson. They wanted to play on the fruit content, or promote the whole fruit content in Welch's fruit snacks. But having Gordon Ramsay in the ads, and a couple of these ads, he came in really hot, talking about competing products. No actual product was named, but you did see a generic competing fruit snack being depicted in this ad. Gordon Ramsay is very Gordon Ramsay in these ads, and yells at the parents for giving their kids the other fruit snacks. He takes the fruit snack, spits it out at one point. He kicks it. It ends up in a lobster tank. He throws it, and he's really talking negatively about the competing products, and how could anyone give someone a product that isn't whole fruit like our products? These ads cross the line because they did depict competing products as being worthless. They were worthy of just being spit out, thrown, kicked, put in the lobster tank. So depicting the product as having no value was something that couldn't be supported. That is distinct from making a claim about whether one product has better or different ingredients than another product and actually doing a comparison like that. The problem here was in the depiction of the product as being worthless. So NAD said that this was ash canning and recommended that the advertising be discontinued.
It's still summertime and people are trying to squeeze in some rest and relaxation while they can. So the next two cases are sort of variations on a theme. Airbnb challenged claims by vacation rentals by owner, or more commonly known as VRBO or Vrbo. Both companies are major players in the ever-popular short-term rental market. This was a fast-track Swift case, and because there was only one issue here, which is whether the ads imply that VRBO did not have hosts and that Airbnb always has hosts that cohabit with the consumers during their stay. The commercials are part of VRBO's host-free campaign, where they have humorous commercials showing exaggerated vignettes of hosts with outrageously strict rules. And at one point, the host joins a visiting couple in their hot tub. So it's pretty horrifying. While advertisers may use humor to highlight truthful distinctions between their products or services and those of their competitors, here the commercial does more than that, when it ends by saying, when other vacation rentals make you share your turf with a host, try one you have all to yourself, and reasonably conveys that VRBO's free stays are superior to those offered by competitors like Airbnb, which always require cohabitation with hosts, when that's not the case. So we recommended that the host-free claim be discontinued. In another fast-track Swift case, Sleep Number challenge claims by Tempur-Pedic for disparaging claims made in videos and social media posts about the Sleep Number bed, namely that it's akin to an air mattress. So saying claims like the truth about Sleep Number beds is that they inflate like a balloon and are basically an air mattress. Within some instances, there's imagery of a balloon inflating as well as a time-lapse video of Sleep Number beds, air chambers inflating. So we could see why this challenge was broad, and it was appropriate for Swift because, again, just a single issue about the false disparagement about the flimsiness of the Sleep Number, and sort of akin to the ash canning that Eric just mentioned. NAD agreed with the challenger and noted that there was no evidence here that supported the message that the Sleep Number beds are similar in quality to a flimsy inflatable object like a cheap air mattress, and recommended that the challenged ads be discontinued. The advertiser could make truthful comparisons about the quality and functionality of its mattresses.
Okay, so now let's talk about a couple cases where the humor worked such that there was not an unsupported claim falsely denigrating a competitor here. And I think what's important to know, or what's important to think about, is it's not so much whether the joke lands, but where does the joke land? I'll explain that. Where is the source of the humor? Is the humor in putting down the other product or on something else? Now, the first case we had was for Dollar Shave Club from a while ago. And this was a whole campaign that Dollar Shave Club had about its razors, comparing them to its competitors. And they used a lot of, slapstick humor, a lot of over-the-top kind of humor. And just want to talk about a couple of the ads here. In one of them, they portrayed, they were talking about the free gifts that some other competitors give you. In these ads, the free gift ends up kicking the purchaser in the groin. And then in another ad, it sort of mocks the prices, mocks the experience of paying high prices for razors by, somebody has to give his money, not only his money, but his grandfather's watch and all of his clothing. And then, the line is, still tired of getting beat up by high razor prices. Dollar Shave club ships amazing razors for just a few bucks. So the question here was there a claim about the quality of the comparative products such that there was a message that you would get the same product cheaper by buying Dollar Shave Club? What NAD said here was that the advertisements were metaphorical illustration of the pain of paying high prices for store-bought razors and the relief from that pain represented by the less expensive products sold by Dollar Shave. So wasn't putting down any other product in any comparative sense here that you're getting the same thing by paying less, but it looked at kind of the experience that the consumer feels by having to pay high prices. So it was sympathetic towards the consumer and playing on that to be a source of humor. So it was puffery and just the sense that you walk away from that sort of sympathizing or empathizing with someone paying high prices, and that's the joke, and it's not saying anything in particular about a competitor's product. The focus is on the relief that you would have buying a cheaper razor. Another case, which I think sort of steered in a direction even further away from its competitors, is a case involving DirecTV from a couple of years ago. This was a challenge brought by one of the cable companies. The campaign or the commercial here that DirecTV was running was signs that you should quit cable. And it depicted a lot of scenarios you would see in various films and pop culture tropes, showing sort of the supernatural and people getting signs that they should quit cable. There are crop circles saying you should quit cable. There's something writing on the ceiling that looks like it came from The Shining. A woman thinks that there's a quit cable message on her toast. So all these funny scenarios where people are supposedly getting signs that they should quit cable and go to a provider like DirecTV. This resulted in a challenge. NAD looked at what was the source of the humor here, and what were they saying about cable? And really, the advertising was not saying anything specific about cable. There were no attributes mentioned. There weren't even any reasons to quit cable that were anything other than these humorous, supposedly supernatural signs that you should quit cable. Cable wasn't really even discussed as a subject. So the message here was, consider switching to us, and here are some funny reasons why you might want to think about switching from cable to DirecTV. So the butt of the joke was not even really cable here. It was these pop culture tropes, and a way for the brand to get attention to it itself was using humor while it was poking a little at cable. It didn't speak to the qualities of cable. So there really wasn't a message here that needed to be supported. It was here, check us out, consider switching to us, and use humor effectively in that regard.
So back to food, but now for pets. So we had a case with a Mars Petcare. It's back in 2018. Mars actually challenged claims by Blue Buffalo. And among the claims was that pedigree pet parents were very clear about which ingredients they preferred. In fact, a comparison, 8 out of 10 chose the ingredients in Blue Buffalo. And the implied claim was that the ingredients in the Mars dog food products are less desirable or less beneficial for dogs than those in the Blue Buffalo dog products. So Mars thought that this campaign was essentially similar to the one from 2014, where the implication was that competing pet food products were unsafe or nutritionally inferior to Blue Buffalo. So in the commercial, there's a split screen with 2 pet parents. They introduce the dogs, and then the announcer asks them what they're feeding their pets and if they ever read the ingredients. And so the ingredients are listed on each screen with the super that says both foods provide complete and balanced nutrition. And then the blue buffalo pet parent is cheerful as she reads each ingredient, but the Caesar and the pedigree pet parent says there are multiple commercials here. They were just not as enthused. In the Caesar version, the Caesar dog crosses the screen and brings the owner the blue buffalo pet food. And in the pedigree commercial, the pedigree dog crosses over to the blue buffalo side and puts his paw on the blue buffalo parent's leg. And there's also print and internet ads where they list the ingredients in each product and essentially invite consumers to compare which one they would rather feed their pet. The announcer says, while both foods provide complete and balanced nutrition, 9 out of 10 Caesar feeders or 8 out of 10 pedigree feeders chose the ingredients in blue buffalo. So again, no consumer perception survey here, but we found that these commercials are vastly different from those from the 2014 case. In that case, the owners were, angry. They said they were so angry about being duped about big name pet foods based on the ingredients in the product. Here, that was just not the case. I mean, this is just much milder. The owners were surprised. And it's important to note, again, context is really key. So in the super and the announcement, they say that both products provide complete and balanced nutrition. Also in the print and internet ads, they invited consumers to compare the products, right? And to see which one they'd rather feed their dogs. So, you can't impute the takeaway from a prior campaign to a current one. The context you really need to look at the context. And here they were very different.
Okay, so that just about wraps it up. What did we learn today? First, we learned that humor is not a defense. We have to look at the messages conveyed in the advertising and whether or not there is a message that falsely denigrates a competitor. Humor will not get you off the hook as much as we do appreciate a good joke.
Another thing is to really keep it narrow, right? Make sure that the message is focused on a specific claim and that a claim is supported.
And lastly, I think it's important to keep in mind that what goes around comes around. These kinds of ads are popular because they get people's attention, but they also get your competitors' attention. Competitors notice, and you might just get an NAD challenge if an ad is not executed the right way. Well, that's all for today. Thank you again for tuning in to this season of The Ad Watchers. We hope you enjoyed it.
Join us next season for more episodes of The Ad Watchers. As always, you can head over to our website, bbbprograms.org, to learn more about what we do at the National Advertising Division or any of our other self-regulatory programs. That's all for this episode and season. See you next time. Thanks again for tuning into Ad Watchers. Be sure to check out our previous episodes at accountabilitystudio.org, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified about our next episode.